This is Matthew Brenner. Today is March 22nd, 2017. Best-selling author and conservative talk show host Michael Savage was attacked last week, and I think it brings up a couple of important points. They have been going after Alex Jones. They delisted Mike Adams, the health ranger, off of Google. I do believe they reinstated that. They have this whole Ministry of Truth program where they are gunning for conservative talk show hosts and outlets. Roger Stone was T-boned. That was after a couple months before when he was poisoned with polonium. So apparently the intolerant left and the deep state and the Never-Trumpers are serious about taking out their opposition. Let's go to this clip that will explain further what happened.
One of the top talk show hosts in the country and multiple #1 New York Times bestselling author, Michael Savage, who was on my radio show for an hour yesterday, throwing down the gauntlet of the fact that Obama and others have moved in down the road from the White House with George Soros money and are openly trying to cause a civil war in this country and calling for the president to be killed, threw the gauntlet down and said these people aren't going to stop, and Trump and the Attorney General need to move against him. Now, I'm not going to give any of the inside baseball away here, but here's the bottom line. There are all sorts of harassments and attacks going on against libertarians, constitutionalists, conservatives, just people that are common sense and are loyal to the United States of America. That's why you see such arrogance with Snoop Dogg in big Viacom videos, put out saying, kill the president, kill police with bullets. Some 45-year-old, Crip, wannabe punk, running around saying, kill cops, spraying with bullets. This is an attempt to destabilize the country. This is very, very serious. And local news went and talked to the witnesses and saw, I guess, the surveillance camera footage. And TMZ, look at this headline. Radio host Michael Savage involved in restaurant melee. Infowars.com has the full scoop right now. It's Michael Savage attacked by anti-Trump lunatics. And they say Savage is at his table. The guy runs over and screams at him for supporting Trump, assaults him, and then assaults, a guy that Savage has even written a book about how much he loves his poodle, then starts attacking the poodle until people go to fight that guy and he attacks them. And reportedly other people then started attacking. So it was a setup, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't get into inside baseball here again, but I've had to get security. And I'm somebody that's protested the KKK. I'm somebody that's marched against, all sorts of dangerous groups. I've gone into malicious standoffs, tried to get people to give themselves up. I mean, I've been involved in all of it, okay? But it's gotten so serious, not just with the operatives they've hired, but also with MSNBC, CNN, Saturday Night Live, the entertainment shows, saying lies about me and my family, that then I've had to get security. I mean, just last Saturday, Saturday Night Live said that Alex Jones told the president that black people aren't human. That Alec Baldwin played the part of the president and said, I learned from Alex Jones that black people aren't human or bad. I mean, I've always been anti-racist. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the weaponization of the media and the violence they're trying to start as bullies as massive censorship ends. In the Trump administration, with the truth coming out about what's happened inside corrupt agencies. Their censorship is just beginning to try to suppress us in the media. Gizmodo today, owned by Univision, calling for us to be shut off, praising Facebook, blocking us. All this crazy stuff is happening. They had an agenda planned, thinking Hillary would get in. They admit that. And they were going to come after the free speech of this country and finally sew it up. But Trump and the American people rallied, good people inside the intelligence agencies rallied. And again, I don't want to lionize the intelligence agencies. There's been a lot of corruption. They had bad leadership. They were given bad missions. But just today, Q and one of the former leaders of a major SEAL team, we can't mention, were on the show. And afterwards, they shot another video that's going to air tomorrow talking about how there's been a rebellion against this globalist takeover in the intelligence agencies that's taking place. But bottom line, to anybody that's loyal to this country, Google, Facebook, all of them have the algorithms, they have the databases, they have the info, where you eat, where you go, what you're doing, and our intel is they're giving that data out to basically criminal networks and others to engage in this stalking of the American people.
So, Dan, let me ask you, you had an investigator or whatever you call him go out there last night and try to get some eyewitness accounts. What did he learn?
All right, he talked to people who saw a man come out after you. You're leaving the restaurant. You've got Teddy on a leash with one hand, and you've got your bag in the other. and this fellow apparently is seen running after you, and he confronts you, and the next thing they see is this fellow is grabbing you and throwing you on the ground. Now, the next thing that happens, fortunately, is that a man comes running and steps in between and tells this guy, stop. And for being a good Samaritan, the reward he got was getting punched in the face. So that's what...
Why was he not arrested? Why was the perpetrator not arrested?
You see, this is a crazy part of the law, and as you said, police officers go nuts over this. This is a misdemeanor, a battery, punching somebody, unless they're bleeding, or their eyes knocked out, unless there's real injury that's gory. It's a misdemeanor. The law prohibits police...
What do you mean by wait, hold on. How do we know what real injury is? There are many people who get injured and it doesn't show. There's injuries to soft tissue, muscle injury, nerve injury. Come on, you know that as a tort lawyer.
And the tort lawyers also know that if there's no bleed, then the case often doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get stabbed. I'll try better next time.
Exactly. If you'd fallen on the street, cut open your head.
I'm sorry I didn't. Well, I'm not from Brooklyn. I didn't fake an injury.
That's what it comes to. If you'd been standing there like screaming in pain, maybe the officer would have said, oh, it's great bodily injury, serious injury.
Well, I got news for you. The officer, to his credit, asked me if I needed medical aid, and although I did want help, I said no. The last thing I wanted to do was be taken away in an ambulance with a dog crying. My dog was traumatized.
Actually,
you know that this piece of garbage swept the dog out of... This little 10-pound dog is still frightened. Do you know that? Why didn't they arrest him for assaulting an animal?
Well, Penal Code Section 597 makes it potentially a felony for assaulting an animal. As I look at the law, I actually think that the consequences for pushing Teddy aside with his foot might be more severe than for you to the ground.
Well, good. I'm glad to see that we value animal life more than human life. At least something is in the right state of mind.
The law is crazy sometimes.
What did the other witnesses say? Was there anything other than that, or is that a sum total?
That's the sum total. Everybody saw the same thing. Nobody understood why he was yelling things at you or grabbing you, or why. I think their big concern was, why did this guy come out of the restaurant after you?
Well, isn't that a crime, a felony, to pursue someone and assault them verbally and then physically? That's not a felony?
No. It's the law gives a lot of... look, if the guy had come out and kept...
Wait a minute, and then the cop says to me, he's putting you under a citizen's arrest. You hit him first. I said, how could I have done that? My right hand was holding my dog's chain. My left hand was holding my bag.
There's a crime called making a false police report.
Oh, let me hear about that, Mr. Horowitz.
All right, 148 point 5 of the Penal Code says that if you lie to a police officer deliberately while making a report of an alleged crime, that itself is a misdemeanor. And here's a fellow who followed you out. There's no dispute he followed you out. He came up to you and closed the space, yelling at you. That right there is an assault, because it's putting you in fear of being attacked by who knows who he is. Is he the guy who killed John Lennon? Is he?
Thank you. Give peace a chance. I didn't know who this guy was.
Right.
I turned quickly and I said, go away from me, basically.
Listen, I'll tell you something. I think you show tremendous restraint. It's because you are approached by people all the time. You probably have a lot more restraint than me. If some guy came that close to me yelling, his face would not be existing. I mean, I would.
Okay, but you would be in prison. That's the whole point. You would. It's in this sick society of ours.
Well, let me tell you, a man comes out after you, comes that close, yelling. You know that an attack is coming. You don't have to wait till you're dead on the ground.
Dan, I turned around and this man was right in my face. He was in my space. He could have shot me. He could have stabbed me, Dan.
Well, I believe,
So let me just finish this discussion. Luckily for him, I did not do something, because I don't do that when I am going out eating or drinking. You follow that one?
Yeah, but you had a legal right to do it, in my opinion.
Oh, I had a legal right to do that. But now they didn't even arrest him. They said he had the right to file a false report against me?
Well, we'll go ahead. Everything he did wrong, we're looking at. We've got our people gathering evidence. We're talking to law enforcement. We're talking to the police officer who's been, very good at talking back and forth and communicating. And we're giving him everything we've got. And we are going to ask for felony charges, a felony assault because of your age, even though you look young. You're over the legal age, it becomes a felony, and that's a separate crime. We're going to ask for animal abuse, for pushing Teddy with his foot. You don't do anything to animals when you're angry at a person. And thirdly, we're going to ask for filing a false police report. We're going to ask for those charges. And you know what, Michael? Answer this honestly. If this guy had apologized to you, honestly and profusely, honestly apologized, wouldn't you have just let him go?
When would he have done that? He ran in the restaurant after he socked the other guy. He ran like a little chicken into the restaurant.
Well, okay, if he didn't sock the guy, if he just said, okay.
After he assaulted me and my dog, the Good Samaritan stepped in. I love that guy, by the way, and I know who he is, the good guy. I'm gonna take him and his wife to dinner. I love those people. These are the best people I've met in years. The perpetrator ran in the restaurant like a little chicken chick.
This guy who got punched, he did not know you. You did not hang out with him at that restaurant.
No, I met him that night. I was having a drink and he introduced himself. That is correct.
That's it. The guy comes out and puts himself in front of a guy who, as I understand it, because he talked to me, was much bigger than him. And he did it. He didn't even think about it because it had to be quick. And he jumped in and tried to stop him. He didn't hit the other guy. He tried to stop him, and the violent perpetrator hit him in the face. I know. Well, he's got your Good Samaritan, whose name we'll keep private but he's a hero and a very brave man because he couldn't think about it. He had to move quickly to make sure you didn't get stomped on by or hurt. He had to move quickly, and he did it without thought for himself.
How did we know this psycho wasn't going to pull out a gun or break a beer bottle and drive it into my face?
Yeah, no, you're a good Samaritan. I wish I could say his name and thank him. We'll get it.
Well, not right now. Let's leave that for another time. So you ask me a question, which is what? After all that, if this coward bully comes out and says, I'm sorry?
Well, I guess it's not, somebody who would chase you out of a restaurant probably is not going to say, I'm sorry.
If he had come out and said, look, I didn't know what I was doing. I had too much to drink. I didn't mean to do this. I just wanted to say this or that. I probably would have walked away from it. But he's hiding. I still don't know his name, Dan. Now, explain this to the listeners. How is it that everyone knows my name, my age, my dog's name, but they don't know the man who assaulted me? How is that possible?
Again, the law has a lot of rules. I'm sure the police would like you to know who he is so you could protect yourself, maybe even get a restraining order against him. But they're under strict orders to keep that material private until the district attorney has had a chance to review the file. And they're hamstrung. The police officers have to follow rules or they get sued. There's internal affairs.
But it seems like the rules are all written to protect the aggressive, violent person.
The rules protect the aggressive, violent too much in this society. We go overboard. We're taught in school to save one innocent person from being wrongfully convicted, we should let 10 guilty people go free.
Yeah, a big liberal, shibboleth, I get it. Yeah. You see, there's a war on conservatives. He knew my family name, so therefore he was gunning for me, and therefore he had a vendetta against me, a premeditated vendetta, by the way. I'll tell you that, and I'm not a lawyer. He didn't just say, hello, are you savage? He didn't say that. So obviously he had some kind of axe to grind with me, and I don't know who that man is to this day. By the way, is he from Tiburon? Does he live in Marin County? Is he from out of state? Who is he?
My big concern is that he knew things about you personally that are far beyond what a person would randomly know. I mean, who cares what your family name is? If he disagrees with something that you said on the radio, he should say, hey, can we talk? I've got a different point.
That is right. Now, by the way, I rarely ever go out, let us put it this way, as naked as I was that night. Let's put it to you that way. I'm very cautious. That's number one. But number two, I often do say hello to strangers. I'll be back in a minute. I have to follow this, Dan. This is very important for the listeners to understand. I'm not a coward. I don't hide. I do talk to people outside my little radio studio. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. And I've had many of them say, you know what, I really like your family stories, but I don't like your politics. But I have never had a man just come up and spontaneously assault me and my animal and then hit a Good Samaritan and, wait, and not get arrested.